Imagine gliding by boat through a dark underground cavern, surrounded by glittering stalactites and echoing legends. Welcome to Penn's Cave, America's only all-water cave tour, where you'll journey beneath a Pennsylvania wildlife park, discover stunning rock formations, and emerge on a sunlit lake. In the next 30 minutes, we'll take you on an immersive virtual tour through this subterranean wonderland. Our tour starts in the parking lot, where there is ample space, even for RVs and buses. Here, you can get a glimpse of the historic Penn's Cave Hotel, which operated from 1885 into the early 1900s. Today, it houses offices for the company, and it should be noted, this site isn't just a cave, but also a 1,600-acre farm and wildlife park. From the parking lot, we walk to the gift shop and visitors center. Penn's Cave and Wildlife Park is a great place to visit. As mentioned, you can do more than just explore the cave. You can also go on a farm nature wildlife tour to see a large number of native North American animals, try to find your way through Prospector Pete's Miner's Maze, and pan for gems. In addition, there are often special events, such as holiday sights and lights, featuring large holiday light displays. The gift shop is where we bought our tickets and met our tour, and as you can see, it is a fun and lively place.
I grab the wheel, crush highways, our timbers the road, and wail, grin wide Nittany, we hoist the dead man.
Inside the gift shop, you will also find the Cave Cafe, which features specialties like bison and Texas Longhorn burgers, alongside classic sandwiches, hot dogs, nachos, and more. Outside, starting our tour, we found a sign explaining how Penn's Cave was formed. First, slightly acidic groundwater dissolved the limestone deep underground, creating cavities. Then, as the water table lowered, those spaces partly drained and later refilled with mineral deposits, forming the stalactites, stalagmites, and flowstone that decorate the cave today. To get to the caves, you have to walk downhill about 350 feet to get to the entrance, and then it is about 48 steps down into the cave to reach the boats. As such, be aware that wheelchairs and strollers will not be able to make the trip. You also might want to wear the appropriate shoes, as the stairs are a bit steep. Along the way, you pass a sign that tells you about the legend of Penn's Cave. It is said that in the early 18th century, Malachi Boyer, a settler from Lancaster County, befriended Chief Okocho of the Seneca, and fell in love with his daughter, Nita-nee. Because their marriage was forbidden, the two tried to flee together, but they were captured by her 7 brothers. As punishment, Malachi was thrown into a vast, water-filled cavern. He searched for a way to escape but eventually perished, his body left weighted in the deepest waters. Legend says that on quiet summer nights, echoes in the cave still call out Nitany. Her name endures today, in central Pennsylvania, with Nittany Mountain, Nittany Valley, and Penn State University's mascot, the Nittany lion. After the short walk, only about 2 minutes, we see the cave up ahead. From there, as mentioned, you head down a flight of stairs to get to the mouth of the cave. While steep, there are handrails to hold onto as you descend. At the bottom of the steps, you reach a broad concrete ledge that serves as the boat dock inside the mouth of the cave. And this is where the Penn's Cave experience truly differentiates itself. Penn's Cave is America's only all-water cavern, the only US cave tour that is done entirely in a boat. The boats are long flat-bottomed boats, looking almost like an oversized canoe. From the dock or the boat, take the opportunity to get a quick photo. From this vantage point, you can see the dramatic difference between the dark of the cave and the light from outside. Each boat seats about 20 people, 10 on each side, and before we get started, the guide goes through some safety items. In particular, make sure you stay in your seat, hands and arms inside the boat, along with cameras, and since some of the cave areas are low, listen to his instructions on when to duck. Now, Penn's Cave was created by an underground spring, and is all natural. About 11 million gallons, or 44 million liters, flow out of this spring every single day. And that's happened over millions of years to create this cavern. Many of the formations you'll find in here are created from rainwater coming down through the soil and the cracks in the rock. It fills with some minerals along the way and redeposits them in the cave, forming interesting shapes out of stalactites and stalagmites. Using our imagination, we see various objects created by these formations. For instance, this one people say looks like the wing of an eagle, or you might even see the entire eagle on the wall. As we continue our journey, we learn about a saying you can use to remember the stalactites versus stalagmites. Stalagmites push up from the ground with all their might, and stalactites hang tight to the ceiling. The next formation we saw was called the Statue of Liberty, or even the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Let's also listen a bit to the tour.
The gray rock makes the walls of the cave with a rock called limestone. Limestone's water soluble. So, for millions of years, the water from the spring as well as acid rain was able to dissolve when you rode out this passage. Now, the formations are made up of various minerals. The white ones, that's from calcium or calcite. The composition of the white ones is actually not all that different from the composition of our bones. The red, oranges, and yellows you'll see throughout the cave, that's from iron oxide, also called rust. And in this first room especially, you're going to find a green coloration. That's actually from moss and algae that's begun to grow from the artificial lighting we use. That's why I try to keep the lights off as much as possible. It limits how much you can grow. So keeping the lights off in the cave badness.
As you can see, the tour is well narrated, and you are provided a wealth of information. Throughout the tour, the guide also cracked jokes like, "Don't take these formations for granite. Actually, they're limestone." As we admire the amazing natural formations, we are also informed that although no one in their close to 140 years of operation has fallen into the water, it is typically only 5 feet deep, so even if you did, all you need to do is stand up. In the dock area, it reaches up to 16 feet in depth, but it quickly gets shallower once you head into the cave. Another thing to note is that inside the cave, it is a near constant 52 degrees Fahrenheit, so even on a hot day, you might want to bring a light jacket for inside the cave. Now, let's sit back for a bit and enjoy listening to our guide as we travel through the cave.
This side of the Garden of the Gods is a wonderful place to use your imagination. You'll find rocks that look like little people all along the hillside. In the center here, we like to call this formation our fisherman. His hat, his long beard, and next to him his bucket of trout in his spot the cave. You're going to hear the propeller splash of some very different parts. Just the motor. Sometimes people think that's the fish. When it's really loud, sometimes little kids think it's a monster in the cave. But I do promise there's no monsters in the cave. That's my boss is having a bad day. He's not here today, so don't get worried about that. Here, some frozen waterfalls. See a lot of them throughout the cave. Now the next room of the cave is the largest, called the drive. So don't worry, I'll be turning on warm lights. Although it's the largest room of the cave, first we're going to have to go through this narrow passage to get in there. We call this the Straits of Gibraltar, or the rock of Gibraltar in the cave wall. Scientists actually say this massive boulder here was part of the cave wall itself. However, sometime during the last ice age, all the water flowed to the cave and froze the ice. As it expanded, managed to move the massive boulder further out to where it is set, giving us some path to go through. As we go through here, please keep your hands in the boat. As well as those on the right side of the boat, you might need to duck your head if you go by the rock face. If you do need to duck, please do so one by one. If you all duck at the same time, that makes the boat rock quite a bit. So far, the dad jokes from experience on the shore, they're actually part of my job as tour jokes. Like it or not. Formation you'll find little on the right side of this room, we call this owl rock. And in the center formation, like a lion, we call it the Nittany lion, and snake. On the far side formation, like a gorilla or a sphinx or a Buddha. But your imagination makes it us and myself when you see more consumers. Now, not only is this the largest room in the cave, it was also the first room to be discovered. The first record that we have seen discovering the cave was by a man named James Martin in 1795. James Martin, going on one of his nature walks, he found a passage that led him into the far corner of this room. Back behind that central formation there, he actually found a place where there was soot and charcoal from the fire pit. Around the fire pit, there was also arrowheads and reeds, and a few other artifacts that allowed us to determine that once it was actually the Native Americans that were people to use the cave. The cave will stay the same temperature year-round, about 52 to 55 degrees in the summer. So most likely it was during the freezing winter months that they would come inside the cave to warm up. Some people think they also had used the cave just to hide from the early settlers, because we didn't have any interactions with those that would have used the cave.
Water will drip down through the center of them and deposit minerals along their rim. While they do look like icicles, they're going to take a lot longer to form. Each one of these will take about 200 to 300 years to grow a single inch, or about 100 years for some. So if you let your sink burn over for maybe 1,000 years, you might get one soda straw in a very, very high water. And I'm sure some of you have felt the droplets from up above that make those formations while it is quite wet. People often say that if one of the droplets from the cave lands on you, that's a sign of good luck. Back in the 1800s, when we started doing tours, we did them via rope. One day, a tour guide coming by accidentally bumped his head on the rock here. To his surprise, the rock there is working out like a bell. The rock, not his head. But after that, coming by here, they would strike this formation with a wooden mallet to hear it sound. But you can see, after many years of doing so, many parts of it have broken off. And these are what result when stalactites grow together in long rows. The bats that will come here in the wintertime, they often like to hide in some of these formations. That protects them from the wind blowing through the cave. It also protects them from another animal called the screech owl, which comes inside during the wintertime to snack those bats. This cave actually has a lot of bats. There's probably going to be over 1,000. Well, most caves in this area, a big number for most caves around here would be 60 bats. Like I said, they're endangered throughout the country. Thankfully, this one still has all of our bats, but keep it that way. Yesterday I did see a few what I like to call visitors. Sometimes you still have a few in here, so we might see a couple inside the cave today. The ones you'll see, although they're very tiny, they're actually ones that we call the large bats. And you look at this crevice over on your right. Once you get to you'll find that it's in the shape of a heart. I call this the heart of cave. Last year, a young man casting tour guide stopped his boat beneath the heart, and this is the place where he proposed to his girlfriend. 3 months later, that couple that came back and also had their wedding here beneath the heart on a boat. The 2 lovers were cavers, and that's why they thought that this was the perfect spot for their wedding. Yes, if you ever meet one of the cavers, quite often, I would know I am one. Of course, there's 4 bombs in this country. Now, there's actually tens of thousands of kids in this country. However, you can't really get access to any of them or even look them up online without joining a brotherhood group of cavers. This county alone has over 120 wild caves. This cave looks very, very large for most kinds of caves in Pennsylvania. It's also very decorated, we like to say, referring to the size and the amount of formations compared to a lot of Pennsylvania caves. This cave, it's old, it's pretty old for a lot of the ones we have around here. The further south we go, the Appalachian Mountains region, the older the caves are, so usually the bigger the as well. Look at this small formation here over on your left. You'll find it's white, that's because it's covered in calcium crystals. Children often look at that one and say it's a gummy bear. It must be pina colada flavor. We're around 110 feet from the surface of above us now. It's actually where our field of bison are. So roaming around up there, there's several 1,000-pound bison. But I do promise all of you, not only will the bison not fall in the cave, the dripping you have felt that does not come from the bison. Simply rainwater. Still the right one. Another mineral you'll find inside the cave is one that gets deposited in these little chunks along the walls and ceilings. This magnesium. Magnesium is not water soluble like the limestone. So as the limestone erodes away, the magnesium gets left behind in some deposits. Magnesium is also a very flammable metal. Some people think the early tour guides here would have taken some of it off the walls to help them light their torches and lanterns we first used on tours. We've been giving tours here for now 139 years. Now we've changed quite a bit over that time. We started our tours with torches and rowboats. Now there's electric lights and electric motors. When this was bright light, we actually called it the snowbank before it's colored. But now that it's a snowbank all covered in soot, quite dirty, I've heard a lot of people call it the Pittsburgh snowbank. Sorry if any of you are from Pittsburgh.
Over on the left, you'll find a flowstone formation, or dripstone formation. This one similar in appearance to the Canadian side of Niagara Falls. Now above the Canadian side of Niagara Falls, you're also going to find the New York side of Niagara Falls. As the water flows over the rock, the minerals that get deposited are going to take the shape of the water that's once there. So oftentimes they will look like frozen waterfalls. But the formation throughout the cave can take all a lot of shapes. When you do often look at this large one here, see it looks like a dragon or a dinosaur. It's long tail, it's a large body, and it's small-headed neck. Also heard a lot of people say it's the Loch Ness Monster, the steam one that spins. Cave really is wonderful to use your imagination as we go throughout. Always seeing new things down here myself. But if you do see too many things while you're down here, it's more of a sign you drank too much of the cave wall. Over on the right, formation like a shark's fin. Does a shark fin make out shark teeth? It's from the kids in this behave on the boat. It's not but it's rust making it red color.
The next area we pause at is called the Rainbow Room. This is because the lighting in the room changes color. Here it is in red, which highlights the iron-rich tones within the limestone, showing off the natural mineral content that helped create these massive sheets of flowstone and delicate stalactites. The red hue makes the stones look like glowing embers, frozen in time. Green emphasizes the surface layers, making the formations appear softer and more moss-like. Some visitors say this lighting makes the chamber feel alive, like an underground forest carved from stone. The constant drip of water has been shaping these details for millions of years, adding new layers even today. And finally, the color show ends, with a rainbow sweeping across the chamber. This effect brings out the incredible variety in the stone, from sharp crystal edges to smooth flowstone curtains. Each color brings out different details in the formations. The Rainbow Room is one of the most memorable parts of Penn's cave, where geology and imagination come together, creating a natural cathedral of color, deep beneath the Pennsylvania hills. And with that, we finish our exploration of the cave, and head through a narrow dark passage, leading outside to Lake Nitanee.
I think there's about 500 beavers over many years. The last one that came here was an eagle. But beavers nocturnal, so they get upset when you wake them up every time coming through a report. Apparently there was also a time when almost all the ducks outside the lake kept coming into the cave. It took them a while here to realize it because there was a wild fox out there. And ducks were seeking refuge from that fox. Please do watch your heads coming through here. Please do not touch the walls of the cave. Then come back into the cave. But yeah, as you can see, if you go a little bit further out, you'll be able to see just how deep beneath the surface we are, at least in the tunnel. It does vary throughout the cave. But it's pure rock above us.
It was a bit surreal exiting the cave into the sunlight, and looking back at the tiny opening that we had just come through. And we headed out to the open waters of the lake.
The blue herons are usually active on the, really the first tour of the day, so we might get to see that.
Позакрывали, отмокли буквально проходят туда приедут. Здесь
I'm going to turn the boat. Going around the island, so actually going to be facing the other way. We'll be facing this direction. Like I said, we're going to be facing the other direction going around the lake. A male and a female. They also had a kid sometime in the last year. This summer we saw a young one flying around. It seems to left the nest. Somebody was to make more of a business out of it, and we started doing ticketed tours in 1885.
Wow.
Passed down from the same family line. It's also still a farm today. We actually grow almost all the food for our animals.
And after a quick run around the lake, it was time to head back into the cave, to return to the docks we came in on.
Like I said, it's pure rock above us. No need to worry about any cave-ins or anything. This valley was always here, but they expanded one of the cracks that the where the water would exit. They simply just followed one to find a way out. Sticking on the right wall, you're about to see something that we call headache rock. Not paying attention, you might discover why it's called this. I noticed. Yes. Especially when you're learning to ride. It's not nearly as easy as you may like. Especially when there's strong currents, it makes it hard. It's all very strong, but easily supports its own weight. Over on the left here are these streaks. This is called cave bacon. As it's really cave bacon. Sadly, it doesn't taste as good as regular bacon, but it is full of calcium. And cave bacon, it's got 0 cholesterol. Snakes and branches coming into the rising water damage a lot of the formations. I'll stop us beneath it, but the row of small stalactites we're about to go over, these have almost all flat and broken tips with the flood. So if you look at these stalactites here, instead of flat and broken, you might be able to see inside some of them, see their growth rings or crystal structures.
That's a big one.
Now, while almost all these are broken, some towards the end of this row have been able to revive themselves. There's 3 in a row here that are a lovely example. You can see where these were flat and broken. But now they have little tips that start to regrow after we built the dam. So that little, like half an inch or so there of white growth off the one's flat broken parts, that's all that's grown in the last 100 years. So again, this one formation about the same age as the reported history. Caves are very protected because they're lovely insects. They're great for science. They're also the homes of bats in the wintertime. Bats are endangered down the country from something called white nose syndrome. It's like a fungal infection. Thankfully, none of the bats just get it. These are wonderful insights into the history of the Earth, though. There's a lot of scientific research done in caves. Penn State does quite a lot. Some species of animals can be found in one cave and in one cave only, nowhere else on the entire planet. Many caves are very secluded. Penn State's also doing research about a lot of the microorganisms inside caves. Some of the microorganisms in caves scientists estimate to be like no one's ever heard. People often say this side of the garden on the yacht, coming from this way, is one of the prettiest sights in Penn State. It's a wonderful spot to take photos as we're driving by here. This next room here, because of its height and its sharp formation, feels called this the cathedral. We've also had people get married here in a cathedral before. Don't worry though, they were on a boat. Wouldn't want anyone standing in that shallow water and pull people on their wedding day. There's actually 5 weddings at the cave all throughout the years, and a lot of proposals as well. But as it came right now, 3 people personally got married in the cave. That all ended in divorce, so I think it might be bad luck. Very fitting for a cathedral, though. Right? Well, it was defined a formation almost like angel wings. And on the ceiling, dove wings. You also find like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. But you do have to be quite small, not claustrophobic, if you want to get back there. I've not gotten the chance myself to get back there yet, hopefully soon. Some other tour guides have gone back there, though, and some have gotten stuck. Don't worry, we can just get them out. Really needy tours. Essentially, they're just a little bit too big, and they have to wiggle back out. Cavers, we actually have a thing called a squeeze box, so we can see how tight of a hole we can fit through before we have to do it inside of a cave. Our last imagination formation is that of an elephant stuck in the wall with his head, his floppy ears, his trunk, and his front leg. And the elephant. The elephant, he's been in the wall for quite some time. He's got a cold and a runny nose. That just might trip when he was going to the dock. I do promise, though, it's not too bad.
And with that, we came to the end of our Penn's cave boat tour. With all of those amazing formations, and traveling underground by boat, it's no wonder that this venue ranks among the top attractions in the area. We hope you found this video informative. Thanks for watching. Please like, follow, and subscribe.